Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another this and that, and I have a lot to talk about today and I need to get right to it, but I always have to start off with this disclaimer so people understand what these types of videos are about, especially new people coming in. So sorry to all those that have been following me for a long time. I have to do this so people know right off the bat. This and that video is simply a conglomeration of many different topics. Sometimes I'm trying to lead you back to older videos I already have, or I'm giving you updates on projects I've already started, or even adding in some information that I may have forgot to put in another video that had recently come out. And so that's what these are about, and a lot of people like these, but if this potpourri style video is not for you, I have very many other single topic videos. But watching these videos will help lead you back to some of those single topic videos, which is one of the other reasons I do this. So let's get going on the topics of today. So I'm going to be talking about that lilac tea. So if you watched my garden update from last week, I had showed in that video, I had shown the lilac, my first year finally getting flowers on my young lilac, and I only got a couple of little clusters, but at least it was enough for me to sample. I still have some left over, but the main thing I wanted to do was make some lilac tea because I've always wanted to try it. So I went ahead and did it the more traditional way. Since I only wanted to make a small amount, I put the lilac flowers actually directly in my cup and heated the water separately and then poured it over the lilac flowers so I could try it first. Whenever I'm trying a new herb for a tea, I like to try it by itself to see if I like the flavor. Now, while it was good, it wasn't strong enough. So then I threw in a few more lilac flowers. So I had a pretty good bunch even in that one cup. And then also tossed in a couple of sprigs of peppermint. And there was something about the peppermint, just that little bit of fresh peppermint added in with the fresh lilac flowers, that I did really enjoy the flavor. It seemed like the peppermint, it was just a thought I had. It actually brought out the flavor of the lilac more rather than covering it up with a minty flavor. In fact, I hardly noticed the flavor of peppermint. It was more the flavor of the lilac, and it was actually quite enjoyable. So I'll probably be doing that again, or I might try using some of the remaining flowers for a few other things. And no, I know people make lilac syrup, and I think that sounds really good. I'm not going to be doing that at this time because I have so few flowers. And yes, lilacs do have benefits, not as much though found in the flowers as in the leaves. And the whole lilac plant is actually edible. I'll go into that in a separate video down the road at some point when I have time. I have so many herbs to cover this year that I doubt I will get to them all. I was going to do a bunch last year and didn't get them all done last year either. So we'll see. We'll see how time allows as far as that goes. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the update on the Misfits Market. So just yesterday, I got my second package from Misfits Market, and again, was still very pleased with it. This time though, they had changed it so I could actually order several things, different things. I didn't have to order from categories anymore. I could actually go through the store and just order however many was available or however many I wanted of the individual items. And then that was when I realized I could actually order bunched carrots, and I prefer that because the bunched carrots actually come with the greens still attached. And the greens are beneficial and full of lots of good nutrients, and yes, they are edible, and I will dehydrate those up when I have them on hand and add them into my mixed greens blend. So that is one of the things that's going on in my dehydrator today, is I'm drying up the greens from those organic carrots. And of course I have more rhubarb on there right now, and I also need to go out and get more peppermint and get that on my dehydrator today because I need to really start putting up the peppermint to get us through the winter. So going back to Misfits Market, one of the other things that was really cool was on this order, they actually also had some naturally raised, non-GMO, grass-fed beef and other types of meats available. And I was able to order some of those meats. So I thought I'd order some up and try those out. It's not just about produce, by the way. They have breads, they have all kinds of things in the market. So one of the things I saw that I thought I'd try too were these mini 100% grass-fed beef sticks, because I thought this might be something that would be good to throw into go bags, not for us just to sit around and snack on them here around the house. But of course I did open it up so I could try one, because I don't like to talk about something unless I've tried it first, and it was very tasty. Now I can't say what's going to be available in your area, because here's the thing about Misfits Market. Some people, like I had someone who signed up under, you know, through my last video, and her first package sounds to me like was pretty much a disaster. And it can really, I think it really is going to depend on your location, where your produce is coming from, how far it has to travel, and even your climate, I'm sure, can play into that. So if you're getting produce that is a little older and they are trying to move it off the shelves, then you might have to work through it faster. So be prepared to possibly have to dehydrate, can, or freeze a lot of your produce right away. The first box, there was nothing rotten in there. This box, there's nothing rotten in it, but I can tell some things are a little more aged than what came in my previous box, but not bad. Just a couple of the oranges. All the avocados are very green, and I ordered 8 of them this time because I love avocados, and since they came in very, very hard, very green last time, I wasn't concerned about it. I was just hoping they'd arrive the same way, and yes, they did, and I was happy with that because avocados ripen quickly on a windowsill. The oranges still tasted good, even though they didn't, and I just got the mandarins this time, and they still taste good, even if some of them don't look very pretty, but I was impressed with the carrots. I got a cantaloupe this time. I haven't cut into it yet, but from the outside it looks really good. And by the way, none of my produce from the last order has spoiled on me. Some of it I had to kind of keep up on a little bit faster, but for the most part it all stayed really good and had no issues. Like that was one of the other issues, is maybe some people got their boxes and everything looked good, but within a few days those things already started going bad. Oh wait, I forgot one thing, the mushrooms. I thought I'd give the organic mushrooms a try, and they're right at that point where I got to use them now, like today. I'm not even going to dehydrate them. I'm going to go ahead and saute them up tonight immediately for dinner, because they're just at that point where, you know, if they go any longer, they are going to spoil. So far that was the only thing I got that was like that. But that's mushrooms for you too. You can buy them directly from the store like that sometimes too, if you're not paying attention. And Patrick just reminded me that also, if you do get some in and your food is spoiled, or you have something missing, because that's happened to some people too, make sure you contact them immediately and they will refund the money for whatever is missing or spoiled in your box. So do that right away. Don't put it off. Don't just ignore it. And besides, the more you do that, that's going to help keep them on their toes and make sure you're getting better produce next time, hopefully. And so far I've only had the 2 boxes and they've done well. And I'm happy with what I got. Now here's some pictures of the meat that I got. I got a couple of different cuts of meat. I wouldn't have minded ordering more, but I just wanted to try a few different things. I did order 2 packages each of the chicken breast. Now normally I like to buy whole, organically raised chickens, you know, free range, all that, because there's so much you can do with that. But sometimes I really like just having chicken breasts on hand ready to use. And I don't always get to find a good deal on the ones that are more naturally raised, that haven't been injected with whatever. And so I went ahead and ordered. One is more of like mismatched pieces, where the other one is like just the chicken breast. And I have a recipe out where I do a marinade for chicken breasts and then barbecue them, and I'll go ahead and link to that recipe down below. So that's what I plan on doing with these. That's why I like having the chicken breasts on hand. And so out of the meat, and here's one thing you got to understand, is we ended up having to be gone all day yesterday. And I was like, great, my Misfits Market package is going to arrive and I'm going to be gone all day. So it's going to be sitting out on the deck on the side of the house so it gets the most sun at that time of day. And so I was really nervous about that with all that frozen meat in there. But when we got home and I was able to go through it, everything, all the meat was still frozen except for one little corner of one package of chicken breasts. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and let those finish thawing. So tonight I'm going to cook up one of those steaks so we can try it out along with the side of the sauteed mushrooms and some onions. And then tomorrow I'll be doing the marinated chicken breast on the barbecuer. But anyway, I did order some. Even though, you know, we've got lots of potatoes in the garden, they're not going to be ready for at least another month. So I did order up some potatoes. Yellow potatoes are our favorite, and these normally yellow potatoes tend to be on the smaller side, but these are nice big potatoes. I get a lot out of my garden this size, by the way, but they do tend to be smaller, not like russets that can be really huge. All right, so now let me talk about this extract I have going, because I want to answer a few more questions and also clarify some things that I hadn't thought to clarify in previous videos. Now, I have a video coming out later about extracts. It's one I've shot about a month ago. So this has been going for about a month. And this is a licorice, quote unquote, extract. So licorice flavor. It's actually made with star anise, because that is usually where you're getting your licorice flavor from for most licorice flavored things. Is coming from the star anise rather than the licorice plant, because the flavor, the licorice flavor, is actually stronger in star anise. So I figured I'd give this a try. One of the things I did with this is I decided to make this a completely alcohol-free and glycerin-free extract just to try it out. And in this case, I'm using raw honey. And I have since watered it down a little bit more because the honey is just a little bit too sweet, and I might still add more water to it. Even if it's 3 parts water to 1 part honey, that honey, I feel pretty confident, is going to keep it preserved, because I've seen this happen with my elderberry syrups that I've made, that I've kept them in the fridge for years, literally years, and because I kept the honey in the raw form before I added it into the tea mixture, making sure the tea mixture was cooled down enough to not overheat the honey has been preserving my elderberry syrup just fine. It's not gone bad. It is still good. We still take it on occasion when we absolutely need it. And so I feel pretty confident the honey will work the same way, because honey never spoils, but it can also work as a natural preservative, even for your extracts. So if you're wanting to get away from glycerin and alcohol, honey is one way to do that. But as somebody else brought up, and I didn't think of it until they said it, so is maple syrup. The only problem with either one of these things is obviously honey has a distinct flavor, as does maple syrup. So if you're using them for medicinal extracts, that would be fine. But if you're using them for extracts for flavoring, it's just going to depend on the flavor that you're trying to come up with. Now, here's the thing I wanted to cover. A lot of people have heard me say, when I'm talking about making extracts and trying to go more natural and get away from the glycerin and the alcohol, they might say, you know, because at some point I might want to give these to my grandbabies. That's just my term that I use for grandchildren. I am smart enough to know you do not give raw honey, especially raw honey, to children under the age of 1. A lot of people still are saying 2. The age is actually 1. But I did not have any intentions actually of giving any kind of herbal extract to a child under the age of 2 unless I know absolutely sure that the strength of that extract and everything and the herb that's in it is going to be safe for them. So when I say things generally speaking, it doesn't mean I'm not smart enough to know that, because I knew that. Remember, I have 2 grown children, and I knew that when I was raising them, even as a young mom that didn't know much about anything else. I knew that about raw honey. I appreciate people bringing up that point, but some people were kind of yelling at me. It's like, well, you kind of misunderstood what I was saying there. Grandbabies in general, to me, could be a child that is a newborn clear up to the age of 12. As far as I'm concerned, that's just what I call them. So yes, I was thinking of children that were at least toddlers and up, not infants, not anyone under the age of 1, possibly not even under the age of 2. And before I would give any medicinal extract to my grandson, I always make sure to research it first, which is what you should always do, and why I always say whenever I'm talking about any kind of natural remedies, always do your own research, because there's no way I can know all your different health ailments that you're dealing with, any kind of genetic issues that you may have, or if you're pregnant, or if you're elderly, or if you're trying to give this to a child. I'm not going to know all these facts or what your allergies are. So that's why you have to do your own research. I can only share with you what I'm doing and what works for me and Patrick, but I can't speak for any side effects it may have for you personally. And also, I don't know what medications you may be on. There's too many factors that if I was to list everything off, not only would it take far more time than I have to put into it to research every single thing, and then there's always another new disease out there that I've never heard of. I don't have time to cover it all in a video, or the video would be several hours long. Okay, so that's why you have to do your own research. I even have done a couple different videos now about how to do your own research into herbs, and I'm probably going to do another new one that's a little more general to help you understand how to look things up for yourself. So I will go ahead and put the link to at least the last one I did on how to do research for herbs for yourself down in the description box. Don't forget to click on either show more right down here below my channel name, or if you're on a smart device, right over here you'll see a little arrow or triangle that you'll click on to open the description box. Okay, and then another topic I've been seeing a lot of lately is people, because it's that time of year, people are talking about slugs and snails and how to deal with them. I did a video specifically on this because we know a lot about, we don't get snails so much, but we get slugs. We get lots and lots of slugs. When you live in a place that gets an average annual rainfall of 120 inches a year, remember, we're not far from the rainforest. We actually live very close to a rainforest. You know, people think of Washington State as being a wet state. Nope, only part of Washington is, and we live in the wettest part of that wet part of Washington State. So we know about slugs, and we know what works and what doesn't work, and we've done a lot of trial and error. And so the things that work for most people, i.e. beer and dishes, eggshells, coffee grounds, and so on, even copper, those don't work here. Okay, but they might work great for you. So I did do a compilation of many natural methods that most people should be able to use, or at least find one that will work for them. And then I share the 2 or the 3 ways that work best for us in that video. So I'm going to link to that one down below. I don't want to give it all away here. I'd like you to go watch that video because there's a lot of information in there, and hopefully you can find something that will work for you personally. And now the next 2 things are in regards to the recent video that just published, even though it was shot about a month ago. It just published the other day on the types of fat that I store. Remember, that video was about the types of fat that I store. It doesn't mean that I don't recommend storing ghee or duck fat or anything like that, whatever, or tallow even. It just means it's what I store, because it's going to be based on what's most available to you, your dietary needs, how expensive these things may be to you in your area, and even your climate. It's all going to have a say in what you choose to store. So there was a few things that came up, a few questions, and I wanted to go ahead and cover those. And one of them was on the refined coconut oil. Now, generally speaking, I would not use refined oils, because most refined oils, as this person brought up, are chemically treated. And in most cases, you should stay away from refined oils, but not all of them are done that way. And coconut oil is one of those that most commonly is not done that way, and especially if you go with a good brand like Nutiva, and there's several other good coconut oil brands out there. And so when it comes to the refined coconut oil, I get the bucket, the 1 gallon bucket from Amazon, because it's the best price. I do the subscribe and save that I've been able to find here. When I first started buying it, I was actually buying it directly from them. But then I found out I could get a better price doing subscribe and save through Amazon. And then the one that Kirkland sells, I haven't seen a refined one in their store, but they sell the unrefined, and it's an excellent one. I love that one, and that's the best price I've seen on an unrefined coconut oil, and it's all organic. I have uses for both kinds, and we both like the flavor of the unrefined coconut oil, but personally do not like the flavor of coconut oil in everything that I make. If I'm going to fry potatoes or even some elk steaks for dinner, I'm going to use the unrefined coconut oil because it's had the smell and flavor removed from it, because I'd personally rather not have coconut flavored potatoes or elk steak. Now when it comes to making a coconut fried seafood of some kind, which I have an old video out I'll link to down below, where you do like a coconut breading, and then I think I made a pineapple dipping sauce. And in that case, yes, I'll go ahead and cook that in the unrefined coconut oil. But also remember that the refined coconut oil can stand an even higher heat than your unrefined coconut oil. So different things to consider there, but just know that Nutiva does use an expeller press. They don't use chemicals. And then let's talk a little bit about the ghee. I just didn't think to mention it because it's not something I store. Now, I have made ghee before. It is super easy to make, and I made it only because I've heard so much about it. I wanted to just try it. I wasn't going to go out and buy it if I could simply make it myself. I did enjoy the flavor. I kind of liked that sort of caramely flavor it took on. But personally, just like with the unrefined coconut oil, it's not the flavor I would personally want in everything, where I'm used to just having whole butter in there. I kind of look at that as being something I would use in more of a sweet dish. Now, I did do some frying with it and tried a few different things when I had it, but it just personally wasn't for me in general. And if I ever do want to have ghee, well, I've got butter stored up. I just take the butter and make a little bit of ghee as I want it. But I wouldn't personally store it all. So again, anytime I put videos like that out, it's just to show you what I do, and I try to throw in a few other ideas that come to mind, but there's a lot of things I'm not going to think of. Like, I don't think of always mentioning things like tallow and duck fat. I've never bought duck fat. I've never stored duck fat, so it's not going to come to my mind. I have frozen tallow before from a locally raised grass-fed beef, but generally speaking, no, we don't get a lot of tallow here, and you know, elk and deer don't have a lot of fat on them. So, but it is, you know, when I do have it on hand, it is an excellent fat to fry potatoes in and other such things. And then one more thing I want to mention in regards to that, and maybe it was only just this one person that really wasn't paying attention and just totally misunderstood what I said. I've never once said that anyone should store food in a greenhouse. That would be the last thing you should do. But in that video when I was talking about fats, I mentioned trying to make an infused oil. It was one little jar of an infused oil. I think it was only a pint-sized jar. And I thought I would try experimenting by infusing it in the greenhouse to see if the heat from the greenhouse would speed up the process, so I could get a good infusion within maybe a month instead of 2 months, or maybe even less. But because I use the olive oil, especially the more virgin it is, can only handle so much heat exposure at either a certain temperature or even for an extended period of time. Even if it's not super hot, an extended period of exposure to that same heat, maybe it's 120 degrees, maybe it's only 100 degrees, but that can be enough over a few days exposed to that much heat to cause your olive oil to go rancid. And I knew right away, yes, you can tell when you open up your oil from storage if it's rancid by the smell and by the flavor. It's not going to smell good or taste good. It may not be necessarily an overpowering, very strong smell, depending on how great the rancidity of it is, but you'll know. Now, if you're cooking with olive oil, it will still become unstable if you're cooking at a high heat, but you may not notice a rancid taste or smell while you're cooking with it. I used to fry with olive oil, and I never noticed a rancid taste or smell when I was frying with it. However, knowing what I know about how it becomes unstable and thus unhealthy to the body, I don't do that anymore with olive oil. I only use more heat stable oils for frying, such as the refined coconut oil and the avocado oil. Those are my two favorite when it comes to that kind of thing. And also, please understand, I have a lot of irons in the fire. And yes, I will make typos, and I've noticed it's getting worse in my videos, and that's due to several different things. Me trying to juggle all the many different things I do, and even though I go through my videos like 3 times before I produce and then publish them, I still tend to miss typos that I have a hard time seeing on the screen, because in the editor, the screen's only like this big, and I have to have all this space to work with the video. So sometimes my fingers get typing fast, and I just do a typo and I can't see it until I publish the video, and then I'm watching it to review it, and I'm like, wow, I missed that. Even though I watched it 3 times, I still missed it. So please, just a little grace. I do appreciate when people politely point it out. So if I can fix it, I will. But a lot of times once the video is published, I cannot fix whatever's in the video without taking the whole thing down, fixing it, and then uploading it again. It's not a good idea to do that. I've learned that from experience. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.